So what is the secret to keeping your business together during a recession? Two local business owners join us now to answer these questions. Debbie Lawson Davis is the owner and CFO of Lawson Air Conditioning and Plumbing Incorporated. And Bobby Shoemaker joins us. Bobby, of course, is the owner and operator of the Gainesville Chick-fil-a and, of course, two satellite restaurants as well. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have both of you coming in today, both from respected and well-known and long-time businesses in our community. Debbie, I want to start with you. Your dad started your business back in 1946.
He did, and it was an evolution for him at that time. My father, L.D. Lawson, actually started in the fuel oil business, and he was in that business and started selling fuel oil furnaces to further fund the fuel oil business. Later on, in the early 50s, air conditioning came along, so he moved into that mode to offer air conditioning and actually put the first air conditioning unit in on the square at what was then the Diana shops back in the 50s. So we've had a long history with the Gainesville, Hall County, North Georgia area, and this is our 63rd year in business.
So the company started just after World War II. I would think economic times were just starting to pick up. And then you say air conditioning came along, so he was starting off in a time that, from an economic standpoint, was a good time to start a business.
Right, and I'm sure I know, actually we lost Daddy to cancer in 2000, but I know that he saw so many changes and a lot of economic downturns as well. Through the early 80s, there were some challenging times. We saw that through, and it was quite an experience, I'm sure, to see the change in the market, the change in the regulations that govern our industry, and the change in the consumer's needs.
Well, we'll talk about your family and just what kind of family principles you've operated the company on for so many years in just a moment. Let's meet Bobby Shoemaker. Chick-fil-a certainly is one of those kind of names that just says it all. We love your commercials, we love your food, and certainly you've had a lot of success with your store here in town.
Well, we've done well. My current restaurant, we've been there for 12 years. We remodeled a couple of years ago, so it's a lot more customer friendly from a aesthetic standpoint and a function standpoint. So we've been very successful. We wouldn't have remodeled had we not done so well the first 10 years. And so we've been incredibly grateful. Like Debbie's dad, Chick-fil-a started in 1946, so there was a lot of road that was paved before I came along. But we've been very blessed over the last 12 years here in Gainesville.
And what is your strategy for operating a successful business?
Well, it's pretty simple. We want to get you some great food in a clean environment, and we want to get it to you with great service. And so that's seems very simple, but that is our business model. Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-a is to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-a. And then the second part of our corporate purpose is to be a great steward of all that's entrusted to us. So we want to have a positive influence. We want to be great stewards of what's been blessed, especially in this economic time.
Debbie, what about your family slogan or motto or principle that you've operated on for so many years?
Well, our little tagline is "Our family serving your family" in all of Northeast Georgia since 1946. And service first. The customer, listen to the customers, give them what they need, advise them, and in our industry there's a little bit of education that goes along with it. There's some requirements, there's codes, there's technical issues that the customer needs to be aware of, but listen to the customer and service first.
Let's talk about present day. So both of these companies certainly well established. Here we are in a recession now. Times are difficult. Bobby, we talked earlier, and you're talking about how we're holding on a little bit tighter to our dollars, and they're very important to us. Debbie, what are you doing at your company to get through these more difficult times?
Well, in the construction industry, we really have 4 divisions at Lawson Air Conditioning and Plumbing. That's a commercial plumbing division. That was probably seen the most growth in our business, commercial HVAC, residential HVAC, and our service department. Thankfully, our service department has really weathered well. We have a great amount of customers that we've had for quite some time. And when you're cold or you're hot or your plumbing doesn't work, you want us, and you want us right then. So I think we've been very responsive to those needs. And that department has seen very little change in this economic time. Although I do say I've had more customers questioning payment options and have seen more using credit cards and asking if there are payment options to split payments out. And we're willing to work with those on that. But we have seen the commercial market more affected by outside competition, folks coming from outside our region. We actually bid on a large school project in Cherokee County just recently, and where normally we would bid against maybe 5 contractors, there were 15 on that job bidding on the air conditioning on that project, some as far away as Chattanooga and Macon. So that tells me industry-wide that the market is changing because other markets are affecting ours when they might be drying up and people coming further than their normal range to find work.
What about your employees? Have they been affected by some of this?
We've got 75 employees, and we have made a change just recently to reduce our hours to 32 hours for a week. And, you know, while I think they understand that that was a need, we see a lot of our competitors making more drastic changes, eliminating any overtime, eliminating employees' vacation, and reducing some benefits. And we wanted to be as fair as we could across the board with our employees, and I think they understand and really value the fact that they have a job now, and they have, of course, their benefits remain in place. We felt very strongly about that. But they see the economic times around them, and they understand our business decision to protect our strength right now.
Right. And Bobby, what about at Chick-fil-A? Changes that you all have had to make as these times have changed?
Yeah, we've had to make some changes. I will say this: we have not changed our strategy from a marketing standpoint, from trying to be aggressive from a growth standpoint, because we understand that if we grow the top line, that the rest of the profit and at the bottom line will take care of itself. But we have made a few changes. One is we did eliminate overtime at our restaurant, and like Debbie, I'm sure, struggled making that decision. That was a difficult decision for me, and because there are some people that depend on that. And but I think all in all, our staff is very grateful for the opportunity to have the job that they have, and understand that we need to keep the business as healthy as we possibly can through this time. And so, but anyway, we're doing okay.
The turnover rate is typically pretty high in the fast food industry.
That's right.
Now, I know Chick-fil-A is one of those fast food restaurants where people
Yep.
do stay a lot longer than they might at another restaurant. What kind of turnover have you seen?
Well, none, not much. Usually this is a transitional time here around the first of the year, and we have had none. And matter of fact, we've had some folks come on. I've hired a couple of additional staff just because they were so excellent that we needed to bring them on. And so although we're in somewhat of a hiring freeze, that I call it, if someone comes along that's just hard to turn down, we'll certainly find a place for them.
Okay, there you go. Now everyone knows now Bobby's a softy there.
I am.
He wants to help. What about, I've heard some business owners say that not only they're looking at their people, but they're also looking at their vendors and where they get their supplies from. Have either of you made any adjustments and reevaluated in these areas, Debbie?
We have. We have a purchasing manager that does a good job for us that does look at cost and calls around, and our vendors are, I think, expecting to be beat down maybe a little bit on the prices. Metal prices have just been crazy in the past quarter of last year, so that affects our industry a lot more, volatility in those commodities that we can't control. But we're trying to be wise and make good business decisions, good purchasing decisions, and maybe even putting off some purchases until things change.